All hail King Carlos. He is here. He has officially arrived at the top of the men's game. And it's unbelievable. It hasn't happened in as long as I can remember to just watch somebody have the most hype possible in tennis and then just follow it up and make it to the destination as quickly as Carlos has. Absolutely unbelievable. Wins the US Open, is #1 in the world now, and the sky's the limit. Juan Carlos, his coach, said he still can improve basically every aspect of his game, and I believe him. So amazing. Where does he go from here? We're going to talk about the #1 ranking. First, we're going to talk about how the match went. Casper Ruud played great. It was an amazing match. We're going to break that down. Then we're going to talk about where does the #1 go from here? Does he keep it when Djokovic comes back to a full schedule? And I'm going to discuss, is Carlos, Alcaraz, and Sinner in this generation better than Tsitsipas, Zverev, that generation? Or are they just in a slightly easier time? We're going to break that down, as well as obviously Iga Swiatek as well, taking out on Jabeur for her third slam, first one on a hard court. Absolutely amazing. The Iga show is back on the road. Here's the slice, breaking all of that down, presented by PointsBet Canada. Let's get into it. Some stats for you guys. It was I'm sure you've heard all these stats before, but if you haven't, this is what happened yesterday. Carlos Alcaraz won the US Open, becoming the youngest world #1 of all time on the men's, the youngest slam winner since Rafa in 2005. He spent, in his run to the title this year, the longest time spent on court in a major victory ever. So you could say it was the most physical major victory ever. Just absolutely nuts. He's 19 years old. He, in 2021, even 2020, people were really, really hyping him up in 2020. I think that's when I first kind of had eyes on him. And then last year, people were like, he's the future. Remember when he took Tsitsipas out here, US Open 2021, people were going nuts now. He wins Miami earlier this year. He wins Madrid, wins Barcelona. People are thinking, when's he going to win his first slam? Well, we have our answer now. He won his first slam in the 2020 US Open in pretty amazing fashion. 3 5-set matches before the final. Just crazy. Before we get into it, huge shout out to our partners, PointsBet Canada, for supporting the Slice all tournament long, really all summer long. So a huge shout out to them. If you want to support the Slice and you don't have any money to give or things to buy, down in the links below, and you're in Ontario, you can just sign up for PointsBet Canada. That does help us out, and it really helps you out if you want to get more in on the action. So shout out to PointsBet Canada for supporting the Slice. Thank you for subscribing, joining our mailing list below. All of that jazz really, really helps us out. The hype. All the hype, like I said, has proven to be legit. How rare is it in tennis that we incredibly hype somebody up as a teenager, as a 17, 18-year-old, and then they immediately deliver on that? That's just so rare because tennis is such an individual, pressure-filled sport where pressure is such a hard thing for younger players to overcome, and Carlos has overcome it. He absolutely was one of the top favorites coming into this tournament. He was crazily a top favorite coming into the French Open, even Wimbledon, and now he's won the US Open basically in his third major where he's had some amount of expectation to win it. So he's done it more quickly than basically anyone else since Rafa, and it's just absolutely unbelievable. I found it unreal that I had so much belief in Carlos to come through each match that he came through, whether that was against Chilich. He was down a break in the 5th set. I was just like, I know he's going to break back and come back to win this. And that's what he did. When he was down even set point or match points to Sinner, I was just like, I don't think this is over. When he was down to TFO, I just figured he's going to figure it out. The mental fortitude that he has at 19 years old to just lock in and figure these things out is just absolutely ridiculous and special. So he's amazing. I could go on forever, but this is going to be a 10-minute video. So Ruud versus Alcaraz, the match, the final. People are saying, there's no big stars. There's stars. If you watched that tennis match and you were not satisfied, I don't think you really like tennis, actually. Carlos versus Casper was amazing. Great rallies. Casper played really well, and that third set was absolutely pivotal, obviously. But if you remember, I did predict, shout out to myself, Carlos to win in 4 sets, and that's what happened. But one of the main points I said was Casper Ruud has a serving advantage, in my opinion, and he did over Carlos. So that's going to be one area where he has an edge. But what ended up happening was Carlos won the serving battle. by the stats, he had 14 aces, which was a lot for him. He got 64% of his first serve in compared to 61 for Ruud. He won 74% of his first serves compared to 66 for Casper. So his serve was bigger, made more of an impact, and he hit it better as well. So that's a huge advantage for Carlos, kind of taking away the only real edge that I saw Casper having. That was big. I was also interested to see how aggressive Ruud would be able to be, because he loves to run around that forehand and hit it, anywhere. But up inside in is a big shot for him to really kind of go against the grain. I remember early in the first set, I think he did that. He went inside in up the line, and Carlos got out to it as quick as he did and just ripped it forehand cross court, and that kind of exposed Ruud. So put him a little bit on the back foot, but I don't think Ruud's game plan was to try and blitz Carlos. His game plan was to play aggressive when it was there, obviously, but make it super physical, because everyone was talking about coming into this, how tired is Carlos going to be, et cetera, et cetera. And I think he was clearly tired in that match in different parts. It showed more than others, but Casper was trying to make this really physical and make it a dogfight, which it was. If people were pointing out, Casper seemed to be winning a lot more of like the super long, grueling rallies, and he was playing amazing. Had played the best net game I've ever seen from him. He finished off points. He hit passing shots. He was just Casper Ruud was honestly amazing, and he had set points in the third set, 2 of them on Carlos's serve. And if he won that third set, I would have given the big advantage, I think, to Casper Ruud to win the title and become number 1. But didn't happen. He played a bad tiebreaker, as he said. But yeah, Carlos was nervous at certain points. Casper was clearly nervous at certain points, but for the most part, I think they both rose up and gave us like an amazing final with amazing tennis. Better tennis for sure than Djokovic-Medvedev last year. Definitely better than 2020 between Thiem and Zverev. So it was a fantastic final to watch. Carlos came to net 45 times. If you listen to the Juan Carlos Ferreira, his coach, press conference, he talks about how, he was asked why Carlos came to the net so much, or if that was just part of the game plan. And Juan Carlos said he had lost, Alcaraz had lost some of the joy out there. He likes to come forward. He likes to be ultra aggressive. I think in Montreal and Cincinnati, he lost a bit of the joy playing. So he told him just to be free and come to the net on every short ball, which was his quote. So he pretty much did that last night, winning 76% of the time when he came to the net. So I couldn't feel who had more pressure on them. Carlos was the favorite coming in, so I guess he technically had more pressure on him, but Casper is the older player. It's his second slam final. He doesn't want to lose again to someone who's 19 or to anyone in a final, obviously. So I think they both actually handled the pressure very well, and like I said, played well. And Casper played well. And I'm sad for him. He almost won. Like I said, he was right there. But King Carlos comes through. So King Carlos, how long will he reign? That's my question, because I don't know all the breakdowns. Could Rafa, if it depends on his schedule for the rest of the year, can he overtake Carlos this year? Maybe. What happens if Djokovic is allowed to play, hopefully, 4 majors next year and play in the States for, Indian Wells, Miami? Is Carlos going to stay the number 1 then? That's a big question. In my opinion, 2023 is going to be super interesting. We got the Djokovic, Nadal, GOATs still on the prowl. I'm sure they're not done winning slams. Rafa maybe, but, it seems like he's like on default going to win Roland Garros for the rest of his life. Australian Open's going to come around. Hopefully Djokovic will be able to play. And then we got Sinner, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Musetti, also from kind of like the Alcaraz class. They're going to be there. And then we got Zverev, Tsitsipas, Medvedev, Thiem coming back, trying to show that, hey, we're not done yet. In that group of 4, they've won 2 slams in the last 3 years. But Tsitsipas and Zverev haven't won a slam yet, and Carlos Alcaraz has. So that's a big thing, I think, going into 2023. So that leads me to my next question. Is Carlos better than Tsitsipas, Zverev, or is this just an easier time to break through and win a slam than it was when they were trying at the first, in 2019, 2021, 2020 area? I think it's a bit of both. I have to wait a little bit longer. Yes, Carlos is the new kid on the block. I think we have recency bias, of course, when he's the newest guy coming up, and obviously the level and the talent in which he has, you can definitely see that he's built different than all the other younger guys his age. As far as, is he built better than like a guy like Tsitsipas, who I've always been very highly touted on? I don't know. I think I think he has a more complete game, obviously, but that's mostly because of the two-handed backhand. But I think also Tsitsipas and Zverev were trying to break through when Djokovic and Nadal were still, and even Federer, were still playing at top level, or just playing in general, top level, winning slams. They were playing some of their best tennis. This year, Nadal, he's won 2 slams, but I don't think he's played his best tennis most of the year. Djokovic wasn't allowed to play US Open, so I think it is easier for Carlos to have won a slam. And this is not taking anything away from what he did, but he didn't have to play Djokovic or Nadal to win this slam. And Tsitsipas, 2 sets to love up in the French Open final last year, is playing Djokovic. That's a lot tougher than playing Casper Ruud, to be honest, or Francis Tiafoe or Yannick Sinner, to be honest. So I don't want to disrespect that last generation at all yet. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see if Tsitsipas and Zverev come back in 2023 and say, no, we're still here, and they beat Carlos in these major tournaments when they play, hopefully in like the quarterfinals, semifinals, etc. We'll see what happens, but I'm not ready to write them off yet. I do think it's slightly, the big three are constantly dropping now. I think it's just a drop in level and in stamina and how much they're playing. And so, back here, Tsitsipas, Zverev, we're playing them at a higher level than they are now, but that doesn't take anything away from Carlos. That's a tough one to get mixed up. So we'll see. 2023, I think, is just going to be amazing for the men's game, and we'll see who can rise to the top and see if someone is going to knock Carlos off, because honestly, he could stay the number 1 for like a long time here if he just keeps playing the way that he has. So that's absolutely amazing. Iga Swiatek wins the US Open on the women's side. I predicted it. She's going to beat Ons Jabeur. Ons Jabeur is a little bit, I felt like, because of these courts and because of how powerful Iga was, Ons was not going to be able to get Iga on the back foot. And it looked like, from what I saw, Ons Jabeur was trying to do that, was trying to play big, and then she just was missing too much and not consistent enough. And Iga was, and she played that suffocating defense she does, and she has that easy power, and she was just too good on the day. So that's her 3rd slam, her first one off of the French clay. So the Iga show is back on the road. She's the clear number 1 on the women's tour, absolutely, and a huge couple weeks in her for New York, figuring out her game, getting to the top, and being able to win another slam. So she's the dominant player in the WTA for sure. And Carlos is, you could say, not the dominant number 1, because he's like one of the lowest points ever, but he's the number 1 player in the world as a 19-year-old. He just won the US Open. Absolutely incredible. I want to know your thoughts down below on all of this. Leave a like on this video if you appreciated it, and get around the links below. It really helps us out. I appreciate you guys, and we will see you on the slice again very soon. Davis Cup indoor hard courts here in Europe, which I'll be at. So stay tuned for lots of interviews, content, the daily the Monday Bagel newsletter link below, and all the other stuff that we do. Thank you guys for being here, and signing out from the US Open coverage presented by PointsBet Canada. We'll see you guys next time.